Friday. Goodness gracious me, at the end of another week. Hey, congratulations, you made it. I'm Charles Freedman. It's time for the final edition of News Talk for this week. We'll be here from 9 to noon, dealing with all sorts of questions. Most importantly of all, dealing with your questions, answers, observations, intrigues, whatever. All you have to do is make the phone call and raise whatever you care to raise. 831-265-5050 is the number. 831-265-5050. Do not hesitate. I'm always happy to hear from you. Okay, where are we anyway? We're at 9:07. That's where we are. So pour that second cup of coffee, kick back a bit, and prepare to participate in some news talk. This being a political program, I decided that today we would begin by indulging in some political news. It was just a few days ago, it seems, that we had the, Evan, one of our regular callers, called up to tell us that, who's that? Tom Steyer, the big left-wing Democratic moneybags here in California, has decided to run for governor. Now, at the time, we noted that he joined an already very crowded Democratic field that includes such luminaries as former Congresswoman Katie Porter, who was the front runner until she exhibited her, shall we say, waspish disposition, and wound up losing about half of her support. Who else we got? Tony Thurmond, the state schools chief. Villaraigosa, the former Los Angeles mayor. Gosh, that's not all. I'm trying to remember. It's like, the LA phone book, for gosh sakes. Xavier Becerra, the former HEW chief. HHS. Well, at any rate, the reason I'm talking about all this, there's a new development. That's right, there is a new development. Today, we learned that Eric Swalwell, California congressman, has decided to join the field running for California governor. Let's see if we can learn a little more about this. Now, Eric Swalwell represents a district in the East Bay, where Republicans are few and far between. This is a district, incidentally, where just a few years ago, Eric Swalwell became, for God's sake, get out of here. Hang on a second. This is one of those things where I dialed up a story on the internet, and it promptly sent me to 17 other places. Here we are. Oh, San Francisco Chronicle. Swalwell, a longtime nemesis of President Trump. Okay, so it won't show me the thing unless I subscribe. I already subscribed to the San Francisco Chronicle, but evidently they don't know that. Okay, so we don't get the story. That's unfortunate. Real Clear Politics lists things, and they link to them with no harm, no foul. But if the provider decides, well, you can't see our stuff, then you can't see their stuff. Anyway, Eric Swalwell's district is over in the East Bay. This district has a history of electing some Democrat and keeping him there forever until presently somebody grows tired of him and they primary him and knock him off in his dotage. This is what Swalwell did to Fortney Pete Stark, who had held the district since, I guess, 1970 or something like that, at which time he had run against and defeated longtime Democratic incumbent George Miller. Each time this happens, the Democrat elected is further to the left than the last one. Other than that, there's no real difference. I mean, they're all just people who go to Washington and become regular votes on the floor of the House for whatever the Democratic position is. Mr. Swalwell now breaks this mold. Instead of simply remaining in Congress for 30 years until he turns old, gray, and senile, he has decided to run for governor of California. Sidney or the Bush? Swalwell, well, let's just use the term ethically challenged and judgmentally challenged. Swalwell was the guy who, for, I guess, a couple of years at least, had as his personal driver and, close associate a communist Chinese agent. Attractive lady, too. We have no idea just how much information was gleaned for the People's Republic from this association, but it's embarrassing. It doesn't look good. I believe Mr. Swalwell also has, among other, he's certainly not the only one, a situation where he purports to live in California but actually lives in Maryland and is registered to vote in Maryland. I mean, that's kind of the delineator. Where is your official residence? Well, where do you vote from? That, I think, is a good way of... Man's a registered voter in Maryland. At least that's the information I have. Now, for him to represent a district in California is actually unconstitutional. According to the Constitution, a representative must reside in the state that he represents. Doesn't have to necessarily live in the same district. He could live, down here in Pajaro Dunes or something like that and still represent a district in San Leandro. But at least he'd be in California, which he ain't. Anyway, I don't know if there's any law saying that the governor of California has to live in California. That would be a state matter. But Swalwell is now running for governor of California. Now, what is the political impact of this? Well, the other day, when Eric called in and told us that Tom Steyer was running, I speculated, kind of a fantasy on my part, said, wouldn't it be neato if there were so many Democrats running for governor that none of them could get more than 5-6% of the vote? Many even less than that. And right now there are 2 Republicans who actually are scoring significant support. One is Chad Bianco, Riverside County Sheriff. The other is Steve Hilton, a Fox News commentator. Wouldn't it be neato? Now, obvious in California, we have this jungle primary. Everybody's on the same ballot. There are going to be like 25 candidates for governor. It's going to look, once again, it's going to look like the phone book, except it won't be in alphabetical order. Is it possible? I mean, obviously, Republicans don't poll much in California. We're, a beleaguered minority. And obviously, destined to remain so. No effort is put forward for anything, even Prop 50. Nobody came out of the woodwork for that. But there still are Republicans who vote in California elections. I know. I see one every morning when I shave. So what if Mr. Hilton and Mr. Bianco each get, say, 8 to 10%, maybe 12% of the statewide vote? That's altogether possible. That would be a total of, let me see, if each of them got 12%, that's 24%. So that's about one quarter of the state's voters are registered Republicans. So this is not unreasonable. Not unreasonable at all. So Hilton and Bianco each get about 12%, and no Democrat gets more than 8 or 10. And we go into a November election featuring Republican Chad Bianco versus Republican Steve Hilton. In California, the bluest state in the union, due to this idiotic primary system that was instituted a number of years ago, you wind up with 2 Republicans running for governor of California. Wouldn't you love it? The more I think about it, I get almost giddy. I mean, this, and with Swalwell now running and Steyer now running, so this is 2 more Democrats just in this week. And each of these people, Swalwell is a member of Congress. He's got a fundraising network. He's got this, he's got that. Steyer is a billionaire. He'll throw all kinds of money at his campaign and get himself known. These people will get some votes. And the one Democrat who was polling above Bianco and Hilton, that is Katie Porter, has pretty much torched herself. I don't know if you've seen them or not, but a lot of people have. The video of her being just incredibly snarky with a very neutral to friendly interviewer up in Sacramento. And in my view, worse yet, her utterly vicious treatment of one of her own staffers. I mean, we're talking verbal abuse. She didn't actually get up and whack her, but I mean Cruella de Vil live in person. So this is the kind of thing that costs people votes. Regardless of your politics, people don't like to vote for a nasty person. That testy, argumentative, short-tempered, just not the sort of person you want in your club car. And Katie Porter has now revealed herself to be such, and indeed, in the most recent polling, where she was at about 16%, she's now at about 8%. That means her support has dropped by half. And she is no longer the leading candidate. Instead, guess who the leader was? Chad Bianco, the Republican sheriff of Riverside County, placing number 1. Now, the only thing that has to happen for this fantasy to be complete is for then Steve Hilton to creep into number 2. Hilton is, well, he's got some support, not enough for number 2 yet. But this is something that, well, stranger things have happened. Evan's on the line. He's the one who told us about Steyer running. I wonder if he noticed that Swalwell had gotten in. Let's find out and ask him. Hey, happy Friday. How you doing?
Yeah, happy Friday, my friend Charles. Thank you for taking my phone call for sure, and hopefully you have a great one. Looks like it's nice and sunny. Yeah, just answer that question you just gave me. Yeah, I have. That just kind of came on my feed, and I'm like, God, wondering if you know that, and you pointed it out. So yeah, another Democrat, unfortunately, right? We're not really favorable. But I'd like to really point out, and I'd love to give your thought process. I heard the morning show for sure, and right before you came on, Becky Stein something from Community Matters. I don't want to screw up her last name.
Steinbrunner, yeah.
She was mentioning the fact that we had a city council, I guess Tuesday or Wednesday. And she was talking about the developers giving our council members the answers to their questions, and it's like it sounds like they're just their incompetency is just getting worse and worse. But granted, real quick to get into more detail, Santa Cruz Sentinel online. Their headline, I'd like to get your thoughts on this. Santa Cruz seeking to eliminate public hearings for affordable housing projects. Online community meetings held on Wednesday evening. Santa Cruz City planners discussed potential ordinance that would limit public hearings at Planning Commission and Santa Cruz City Council for 100% affordable housing projects. That's what that says on there. I'd like to get your thoughts on that, sir.
Well, as often happens, you've come up with a bunch of none of this I've seen, but what I can say is that the state of California has passed legislation, state laws now. What they're attempting to do is compel local governments to build more slums. And the whole idea is local governments, you come in and, okay, I'd like to build this slum, and they say, no, we don't think that's a good idea. Please, go away. But the state of California is now saying each each community has to produce this many additional low-income, subsidized, whatever you want, housing units. And many of these take the form of, high-density projects, which are, similar in character to the old housing projects that, a few years ago we were watching them being dynamited and demolished because they turned into such cesspools of human misery. The state of California is now mandating that local governments go down this route. Citizens in these communities are not pleased with this. They're the ones who elected the senators and assemblymen who passed these laws. So if they want to know who's responsible, they really need to check a mirror. But most of them don't think that clearly or that thoroughly. So they simply get mad at their local representatives when their local representatives' hands are tied by state law. So there's more to this than meets the eye, ear, nose, and throat. And until and unless the people of California decide to make a change in Sacramento, they get what they voted for. Period.
Well, appreciate it for your very sound advice, no doubt. Clear and insightful as always. I just wanted to point out the fact that it's kind of frightening, and I see it as a constitutional problem now, and they might see some lawsuits here in the future if some building comes up and someone didn't like it for some odd reason. I don't know. It just doesn't sound all right constitutionally, in my opinion. But I appreciate it for Becky.
Hang on just a second. You've aroused my curiosity. What constitutional issue do you see here?
Just for not having any voices. They're now telling us we can't say anything. What's that going to do? What kind of ramifications is that going to?
Oh, I see. So you're looking at it as a First Amendment issue. Well, if there's an attempt to shut off debate or to simply prevent people from speaking, I can see your point. But in this particular case, maybe what they're trying to do is just save time, because at the end of the day, you can yell and scream all you want, but the state of California has mandated that you will be screaming in the wind. You can protest, you can yell, you can bitch and gripe. It doesn't matter. We're going to do this anyway. We don't care what you think.
Well, granted, Becky probably has some other things that she may talk about. I think that's Friday as well here today, Community Matters. I think that was I'm sorry, what time do you think that is? 2:00, I think?
I don't have the schedule in front of me right now.
Between 2 to 4 here. I just popped it up.
Oh, great. Good for you.
Anybody that wants to listen to her thought process as well. But I appreciate it for Charles and your thought process as well. And enjoy your Friday and enjoy the sun out.
Yeah, definitely. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, Becky Steinbrenner is a tremendously bright and very energetic community advocate, and we're lucky to have her here at Santa Cruz Voice. That's all I've got to say. She's been active for a long time, always very, very productive and very positive. Let me see. Okay, getting back to what we were opening up with here, political news. Well, we started with Eric Swalwell running for governor. Of course, I shared my fantasy that we wind up with two Republicans running against each other for governor. Two things would come out of that. Number one, we'd have a Republican governor, unless some Democrat, it'd have to be a single one, decided to run as a write-in and might actually upend the November election in that fashion. You never know. But the one thing that would definitely happen if we wound up with a statewide election featuring two Republicans running against each other, California's primary system would definitely be changed. And that would be a good thing. If we put it back the way it was, where Democrats choose their candidate, Republicans choose their candidate. And incidentally, all those minor parties, the Greens, the Libertarians, all of those minor parties would then once again have the ability to nominate their candidates. Since this jungle primary system came in, the people who've really been abused most are members of the minor parties, because their voices have just been completely lost. They don't even have a ballot position in November. So every single minor, normally you couldn't get libertarians and Greens in the same room, libertarians and peace and freedom. But on this particular issue, even the American Independent, all of the minor parties that are qualified for the ballot in California, I believe there are 3 or 4 of them. I know that the Greens are, the Libertarians are, Peace and Freedom, and American Independent. There's 4 right there. Now, all of these are small parties, but nevertheless, every single member of these parties should be screaming bloody primary system that essentially robs them of any presence at all in the electoral process. And fair-minded people of other parties should be willing to heed those cries of anguish and say, hey, there's nothing wrong with giving these other parties a ballot line in November. They should be able to be there along with everybody else. That's the American way. Okay, what else we got? It's 9:28. Let's break for a commercial. And when we get back, we will move on. There are other political developments, one of which I guarantee will give you a laugh. So stick around for that.
Bring happiness into your holiday with a fresh and fragrant Lions Club Christmas tree. When you light up the tree, your family's smile will last into January. Pick up your tree from the Lions Club Lot Hall near Costco. 2 to 7 weekdays, 10 to 7 weekends. While they last. Bring happiness into your holiday with a fresh and fragrant Lions Club Christmas tree. All proceeds go to helping those in need in Santa Cruz.
Opens day after Thanksgiving.
The wife says the boat's got to go, no problem. Stored at Anbar Self-Storage in U-Haul, easy off Highway 1 by the airport. Cars, boats, and RVs. Stored away at Anbar Self-Storage in U-Haul in Freedom.
You made the products, you have to deliver. Anbar's U-Haul has the moving vans, shipping boxes, and packing materials you need to deliver them. Easy off Highway 1 on Airport Boulevard by the airport.
Get hooked up with affordable cannabis at your neighborhood Hook Outlet dispensary. We have locations in Santa Cruz, Capitola, and Watsonville. At each Hook Outlet, you will find unmatched low prices on the Hook's unparalleled selection of top-quality medical and recreational cannabis flower, drinks, concentrates. The Hook Outlets are Santa Cruz County's best source for the finest cannabis at the lowest prices. See for yourself. Stop by any Hook Outlet and say hi. We'll see you there. HookOutlet.com.
Attention content producers. You can have access to a complete digital media production facility at Satellite Co-working and Digital Media Studio on Soquel Avenue. Easily rent video and audio equipment, a studio with green screen, editing suite, and audio booth, all at can't say no rates. Schedule a tour to see for yourself at satellitecoworking.com. Mention Santa Cruz Voice for 20% off your first reservation.
At 9:30, we're back live, and I promised you a laugh. I hope this gives you a chuckle. It did me. Have you ever heard of Mark Green, Congressman Mark Green? Probably not. He represents a district in Tennessee. He is he's no longer a congressman. He resigned last June. Was it a scandal or something? No. He got a better job in the real world, so he resigned from Congress to take a job in the private sector, thus creating a vacancy, which has to be filled by a special election. This is something, a bit of civics. The House of Representatives of the United States of America, the only way to get there is to be elected. You cannot be appointed, not by anybody. You have to be elected. If a vacancy occurs between elections, then the governor of the state will call a special election, and a new member will be chosen. But every month, 435 people in the House of Representatives, every single one of them was elected. Bear that in mind. Okay, so to Tennessee, where Mark Green resigned, and it seems that his district covers Nashville. Now, Nashville is known as home of the Grand Ole Opry and country music, big thing there. Well, there's a woman named Afton Ben, Behn. She described how she feels about Nashville. Quote, I hate the city. I hate the bachelorettes. I hate the pedal taverns. I hate country music. I hate all of the things that make Nashville apparently an it city to the rest of the country, but I hate it. She said in a podcast. She is, at this moment, a Democratic state representative, so she belongs to the, what we would call the state assembly in Tennessee. She's running against Republican nominee Mark Van Epps to represent this district. The district is located in central and western Tennessee, stretches from Kentucky to Alabama. It's a strongly Republican district. President Trump carried it in 2024 by 22 points. But the district includes parts of the Democratic stronghold of Nashville, Davidson County, Tennessee's capital, its most populous city. Oh, hey, I didn't know that. So Nashville has overtaken Memphis in population. Memphis was always the big city in Tennessee. Okay, so we learned something today. It's a major center for the country music industry. Duh. The district encompasses North and West Nashville, including the downtown area, which has long been a very popular tourist destination. The Democrat running in a special election for Tennessee's 7th district is running on the message, I hate this place. Elect me. Tennessee deserves better. Republican groups are pouring resources in. They're trying to avoid the possibility of a major upset and protect the Republicans' razor-thin 4-vote majority in the House. So Afton Ben is, my God, optimistic about their chances. Democratic chairman, national chairman Ken Martin, says she has an excellent shot to win. She's considered by many Democrats as a rising progressive star. Some have labeled her the AOC of Tennessee. Oh, isn't that adorable? Republicans are also taking aim at Ben over an op-ed entitled, Tennessee is a racist state and so is its legislature. This appeared in 2019 in the Tennessean, which is Nashville's newspaper. The RNC pointing out, if Ben hates Tennessee so much, why is she trying to represent it? Well, unfortunately, in this day and age, these things, which should be disqualifiers, are not necessarily. Let me see. Washington Republicans and Matt Van Epps are raising costs on Tennessee families. This is part of the Democratic thing. Republicans are panicking. I don't know. Last week, Trump hosted a tele-rally for Van Epps, claimed Ben was a Marxist, linked her to Zohran Mamdani. Republicans are going to try to make him the new face of the Democratic Party. I don't know how successful that's going to be. I think if you're running against Ben, you better run against Ben. I can't help but remember, and it's been a long time ago, I'll admit, but Richard Nixon in 1972 didn't just defeat George McGovern, he humiliated him. It was a 21-point win, 22-point win, 60-40 or 61-39, something like that. Just carried 49 states. And on that same night, both houses of Congress remained comfortably Democratic. All over the country, there was an epidemic of ticket splitting. People running on the same ticket with George McGovern were eagerly and comfortably elected by the same voters who wouldn't vote for McGovern. So McGovern had been successfully defined as too far left. Yeah, he's the candidate of acid, amnesty, and abortion. You don't want him. But his party retained its appeal. and its majorities in Congress. And, of course, 4 years later, they elected a president. So, I don't know, the idea of saying, everybody in the Democratic Party is the same as this Mondani guy, that is not, in my view, a successful tactic. I don't think it'll work. How could it be made to work? That's an interesting question. Think about that for a moment. Well, one thing we do know, the Democratic Party is the party of bait and switch. Barack Obama never went around the country in 2008 saying, elect me and I will engineer a government takeover of the healthcare industry. Elect me and I'll, put in the Affordable Care Act. He never mentioned that during the campaign. Not once. Then he got elected, and all of a sudden, this is what you get. Joe Biden, when he did emerge from his basement to say something, generally made rather bland noises about bringing the country back to normality and so on and so forth. He gets elected. The Democrats have a paper-thin majority in the Senate. It's a 50-50 Senate with the Democratic vice president breaking ties. That's as close as you can get. And what do? They do the Inflation Promotion Act. They do this, they do that. They essentially reset the federal budget from, 21% of GDP to 24 or 25% of GDP, thus blowing what seems now like a permanent hole in federal finance, because there doesn't seem to be any appetite on Capitol Hill, either among Republicans or Democrats, to get things back to normal. But what did the people vote for in 2020? Get things back to normal. That's what Biden and the Democrats promised. But when they got into office, they didn't do that. They did the opposite. So this is why I'm saying the Democrats are the party of bait and switch. Now, if you can hang that on them, if you could demonstrate that to people and say, look, you're thinking about voting for this Democrat, say, for Senate in North Carolina, where we have a Republican who retired, and the Democrats have nominated a former governor who's very popular, and he's not running as a Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or some of these. No, he's a North Carolina Democrat. He's not a socialist. He's not. But if he gets elected senator as a Democrat, what is he going to be voting for? He's going to be voting for the initiatives put forward by his party, and his party is no longer controlled by people like him. It's controlled by people like Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. They are the Democratic senators who chart policy. The last time we saw this movie, it wasn't that long ago, it was during Mr. Biden's term. There was this Democrat from West Virginia, Joe Manchin, former West Virginia governor. Now he's a senator. He's not a socialist. He's just a normal Kennedy Democrat, meaning John F. Kennedy. Of course, that goes back a long way. But today, a Kennedy Democrat is going to be a Republican. During the Kennedy administration, Ronald Reagan was still a registered Democrat. Get it? So there's this constant leftward march. And how many Democratic voters in North Carolina are going to want to vote for a Democratic senator who will go to Washington and vote the AOC Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders line, which is what he will do. Either that, or he'll be another Joe Manchin, which is to say he'll make a complete loon of himself. Oh, I'm holding out my vote. I'm getting this. I'm getting that. Meaningless concessions given by leftists who understood they didn't really have to give Manchin much of anything, just some kind of window dressing so that he could go back to West Virginia and say, look, I've still got some of my teeth. And at the end of his term, what happened to Senator Manchin? He left. Even before that, he left the Democratic Party. But did he become a Republican? Did he do the thing that would have saved the country? Cross the aisle. All of a sudden, at that point, Mitch McConnell is majority leader, 51-49. And all of Joe Biden's nonsense, all of his legislative garbage is stopped dead in its tracks. Oh, no, Manchin couldn't do that. Oh, I don't like it, but I'm going to enable it. You absolute mumbling jackass. I really, over the course of Senator Manchin's Senate career, I really became absolutely fed up to here with this pusillanimous excuse for a politician. Make up your mind what side you're on, you mumbling. Oh. Closest to that nowadays is John Fetterman from Pennsylvania. He recently put out a book. Unfettered is the name of that. Very clever. And in it, he speaks, he rhapsodizes about those things where he finds common ground with the Republicans. And he's very critical of tactics and proposals of his Democrats. If that's how he feels, then let him come over. Red Rover, let Mr. Fetterman come over. But he won't do that. And he's made it very clear very many times. I'm not about to leave the Democratic Party. I'm happy as a Democrat. So I guess he comes from Braddock, Pennsylvania, which is a place where most Democrats are still normal human beings. And Mr. Fetterman sees himself as a normal human being. But the Democratic Party is no longer under the leadership of normal human beings. And this is what Ronald Reagan said years ago when he said, I didn't leave the Democratic Party, it left me. The Democratic Party has left John Fetterman. He just doesn't understand or know it. Or he can't bring himself to realize it. And I'm no stranger to this. The Republican Party has left me. I'm still a Republican. But my party has decided to embrace Trumpism, which is a cult of the personality rather than a political philosophy. And I'm forced into a position where I have to choose between Mr. Trump on the one hand, and on the other hand, a Democratic loon who won't even keep the Ayatollah from getting an atomic bomb. What can you do? What's a mother to do? So I voted for Trump on that basis of that one issue. And I've got to confess, I've said this many times, I'll say it again, he kept faith with me. When the time came to prevent the Ayatollah from getting the bomb, Donald Trump was there for me. I gave him a vote on that issue, and he kept faith with me. So I'm happy. I'm not completely happy because obviously there are other things Mr. Trump has done that I have problems with. But on that issue, which was most important to me, an issue of real, honest-to-God life and death, Donald Trump actually did the absolute right thing. So, what's the problem? Well, my basic problem, of course, has to do with economic issues. And, well, now, what in the world did I just do? Oh, here we are. Ah, very good. To err is human. To really screw up requires a computer. This thing is really acting up this morning. It's not just me. It's not just me. Okay, what do we got? 9:46. I should mention, once again, as I often do, the telephone number to reach the program, 831-265-5050, 831-265-5050. And this first hour, we are talking political matters. There's some new polling out. Polling on the Republican race for president for 2028, on the Democratic race for president, and on the possible outcome among Republicans. Present Vice President J.D. Vance has a commanding lead, 42%. The next highest candidate, Donald Trump Jr., at 19%. After that, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis at 7%. Nikki Haley 5%, Marco Rubio 3%, Robert Kennedy Jr. 3%. Oh boy. Well, anyway, this pretty much bears out what most people seem to be saying, that the 2028 Republican nomination is Mr. Vance's to lose. What about the Democrats? Well, they are still wandering in the wilderness, as evidenced by the fact that the top Democratic support winner is, don't laugh, Kamala Harris. That's right. Trainwreck Kamala has 29 points, followed by another Californian, Gavin Newsom, at 20 points. Now, frankly, this is a surprise to me. Harris and Newsom, insofar as their political positions are concerned, it's hard to force a piece of paper between them. They are Tweedledum and Tweedledummer. But let's turn away from their political, from their positions and issue beliefs. Let's turn towards their political talents, their ability to relate to voters, their ability to win votes, to appeal, to make arguments, etc. Kamala Harris is a zoological specimen when it comes to this. She is one of the worst I've ever seen. Gavin Newsom, on the other hand, is very talented. Whereas Kamala Harris can't sell it, Gavin Newsom can. And it's interesting, evidently somebody else feels that way too, because the general election poll they took doesn't feature Vance against Kamala Harris, in spite of the fact that she leads Newsom by 9 points in the latest polling. No, this is a poll that matches up Vance against Gavin Newsom. And the result of this poll should make you, well, it should give you chills. J.D. Vance, 42%. Gavin Newsom, 41%. That's right. A dead heat. Is it possible that people in the other 49 states do not know or are unaware of the hellish circumstances that Gavin Newsom has perpetrated on the state of California? It would seem to me all we have to do is come up with a clever slogan: "Don't Californicate America." Sound good to you? Don't Californicate America. Even our own people are leaving. My God, if America goes the way of California, people want to start leaving this country. You know, Ronald Reagan said this years ago: we are the best hope of freedom in the world. If America falls, where do we go? Other people from other places want to come to America for a better life, to escape oppression, tyranny, etc. Where do we go if America falls off the edge? Obviously, there is no answer to that. And therefore, the idea that Gavin Newsom would become president of this country should scare the living daylights out of you. It frightens the hell out of me. And getting back to what I was talking about a little while ago, this Democrat from North Carolina, John Fetterman of Pennsylvania, if Gavin Newsom becomes president of the United States, they will be voting for his proposals in Congress because they're Democrats. And they sit with the Democrats, and the Democratic leader, whether it's Schumer or whether he's replaced by somebody else, is going to place irresistible pressure on them. What can they do? Well, from time to time, there have been Democrats like Ben Nighthorse Campbell of Colorado. One fine day, I picked up the paper, says Ben Nighthorse Campbell has just become a Republican. Moved his desk across the aisle, said sayonara. So it can be done. It has been done. The future of our republic may rest with the question of whether Democratic senators who are still traditional Americans, believers in capitalism, believers in freedom, and certainly reject the doctrines of oppressor and oppressed that motivate the Gavin Newsoms of this world. Creepy stuff. What should happen is that J.D. Vance should have a 10-point lead over this. The fact that it is a 1-point race, essentially a dead heat, a tie, is not confidence-inspiring. Not at all. Well, let me see here. We told you about the woman running for Congress in Nashville who hates country. You got to admit, that's a funny story. There's another story about a member of Congress. This is Stacey Plaskett. She is a delegate. She comes from, is it the Virgin Islands? Let me see here. I can't remember. These, Virgin Islands. One of her latest, she called Matt Taibbi a so-called journalist. Listeners to my program will have heard his name. Matt Taibbi really is a journalist. He's the guy who, when Elon Musk bought Twitter, turned it into X, and posted all of the emails, released them all, showing the collusion between the state and this social media platform, Twitter, in deciding who may and who may not speak. Zach's on the line. Let's find out what is on his mind. And, he wants to talk about Eric Swalwell. Let's find out what he's got to say. Hi there, Zach. What do you want to tell us about old Eric?
I missed the part of the first part of your show. Did you mention how he wants to run for governor?
Yes, that was what we brought forward, and he has now officially announced he is a candidate for governor of California.
Okay, that's old hat. Well, I just think that is just the most. It was very much. Then I'm listening to the rest of your show. I went, oh wow, I wonder if we mentioned this yet as to who's running. Who's next? There's Tweedledee, Tweedledum. How Captain Crunch? What character is going to be next on the list?
The Frito Bandito.
Unbelievable. The Frito Bandito, yes.
I don't know, but my presentation, I guess you must have missed it. I have this fantasy, you see, that under our jungle primary system, with all these Democrats running, and now there's a number of well-known and fundable Democrats, but only 2 credible Republicans. And if we wind up in June with the top two vote getters being Republicans, we'll wind up with a governor's race in November between Chad Bianco and Steve Hilton. And the only way the Democrats could possibly come out is if somebody launches a write-in campaign, which I imagine would probably happen.
That could be. That'll be interesting to see. Wow.
But the one thing that would come out of that, and praise the Lord for this, is that if our primary system yields up 2 Republicans running for governor, the primary system will be changed to something more rational.
Right. Huh. I wonder what.
Well, I would think you'd go back to what we used to have, where Republicans voted for Republicans, Democrats voted for Democrats, called a closed primary. Each party, including the minor parties, the Libertarian Party would be able to nominate candidates again. So would the Greens. And obviously, Republicans and Democrats would nominate their own candidates without interference from other members of other parties. Each party would have its own house to get in order. Seems a much more responsible way of doing things than this foolishness that we have now.
Right. No, that's true. Yeah, that makes sense. More of a representational. Yeah. Well, other than that, I guess I could talk about the. I don't know. I was listening to a talk radio this morning, and I heard that there's a peace deal. I'm jumping way over to Ukraine now.
Okay.
I don't know if you heard about the peace deal that basically Russia gets to be a member of the G8 again if they only take the Donbass. I mean, land that they illegally took over. And they basically could take even more land than that land that's still under contention right now. So if they take that deal, they could take the Donbass. I think it's Crimean Peninsula too.
Oh, they've already got that.
Then they've got that, right, and they got the Donbass mostly. But it's just the other area they even get to keep as that's under contention. They could still keep that and still be a member of the G8. I'm wondering who's writing. I don't know the details of this, but I should read into this before I called. But I should have read into this before I called. But I'm wondering who is writing this deal. Is it Trump? I mean,
it's probably the work of Marjorie Taylor Greene. But the thing is that we've only got a few seconds before the top of the hour. I see this plan. I don't know what the function of it is. It is something of a political ploy. It is a non-starter insofar as actual implementation is concerned. There is some theory behind it, some idea that it's going to accomplish something. I don't know what. Perhaps the fact that even this plan, I doubt if Mr. Putin would accept, although who knows. Hey, listen, thank you for the call. If you want to hang on during the break and resume in 6 minutes, you can. You're perfectly welcome to.
Oh, I've got to go, actually. I got to get back to work. But thank you for the call. Have a good weekend.
Okay, talk to you later. It's 10 o'clock at SantaCruzVoice.com. Back in 6. Okay. Let's see here. Oh boy. Babylon Bee. All kinds of fun.
This Black Friday gift cleans your retainer at the touch of a button. No more brushing or tablets. Over 4 years ago, our team...
We're here on the scene in this Republican county where African Americans are being oppressed by horrific new voter laws, forcing them to acquire a legal ID to vote. Excuse me, sir. You're unable to acquire an ID, are you not?
Actually, I just renewed my ID. It's pretty easy, actually.
There you have it. This poor black man has been disenfranchised by racist voter ID laws because he's too ignorant. I'm sorry. Ignorant means stupid. Too ignorant to acquire a voter ID. Absolutely tragic. The new laws forbid giving out food, water, and free cash to voters in line. How will black people figure out how to drink water in line to vote? That's illegal. Thanks to Republicans. Where did you get that anyway?
I brought it.
You didn't bring that. You're too underprivileged. That means poor. I'm sorry the evil conservatives are trying to figuratively smack the water out of your hands.
You literally just did that. Like, who are you? You know what? Forget it. It's my time to vote. Just chill out.
We just witnessed a hate crime. A thirsty, dehydrated hate crime. Our thoughts and prayers to his family. Black people are oppressed. How oppressed? Republicans want to stop us from feeding them. Well, you can't stop this progressive, you racists. You're the racist. Here comes the airplane. I won't let these alt-right lunatics starve you. Yeah, eat it.
Monkey guillotines, banana shaped is for woman.
What the?
You don't know how to use this remote. Republicans won't pass laws to teach you.
What? Where? What?
God, no.
People are incapable of doing anything white people can do on their own. Progressive policies are the only solution. You can't escape them. Without them, you literally can't do anything. Another black man flees in terror from the bigotry of Republicans. After the break, we'll talk to an expert on racism who agrees with us on the capabilities of black people.
That's illegal.
Oh my God.
Nice straw man argument, Babylon B. Ooh, I better write a blog post explaining what a straw man argument is to black people.
Oh my God, I've seldom seen that point made so well. Oh yeah. Okay, so where do we go next hour? Okay. Welcome back once again to the Charles Freedman radio program, News Talk on Santa Cruz Voice. 9 to noon weekdays is what we do, and hour number 2 is now getting underway. During the break, I got to tell you about this because you may want to look it up yourself. I sometimes run little Babylon Bees parodies. This one is just unbelievable. White liberal shocked as black man gets ID. And there's this black guy, and he's walking down the street minding his own business, and there's this white leftist with a microphone reporting. And what's he reporting? He's reporting how conservative policies and conservative ideas are oppressing black people, preventing them from voting, destroying their lives, etc. And he says to this black fellow, he says, you poor schmuck, you couldn't get an ID, could you? And the guy says, well, yes, as a matter of fact, actually, it's really quite simple. But the entire premise of this piece is how insulting and demeaning it is for the left to be saying, well, if you require a voter ID, this is somehow discriminating against black people. The obvious implication, black people are incapable of obtaining identification, which is, well, I was going to say insulting, but it's worse. It's ludicrous. And again, it is an absolute assumption. At the end, they said, now we'll have an expert on race who will further tell us just exactly, how incompetent black people are. Of course, they show a guy in a Ku Klux Klan robe. And really, this has occurred to me. I've made the point on this program. The attitude toward black people that the left puts forward is exactly the attitude that you would hear from a white supremacist, i.e. a Klansman or somebody like that. What's he saying? What's he telling us? Well, black people are inferior. Black people are ignorant. Black people are lazy. Black people are stupid. Black people are incapable of obtaining a driver's license or an identification. Black people are incapable of feeding, clothing, and housing themselves. Black people are incapable of functioning in society. The level of, what's the word I'm looking for? It'll come to me. But this is just, it is utterly insulting. And yet this view, this idea is absolutely pervasive in the leftist presentation on these issues. Oh, you're disqualifying and discombobulating black people because they're too dumb, lazy, you fill in the blank, to be able to do simple things like possess an identification or write their names or observe a deadline and be able to, do something by, vote by election day, things like that. The patronizing, that's the word I was looking for. It is a patronizing attitude. I don't know. In my life, I've known and been associated closely with black people all my life. I have never found, I've run into a couple who were dullards, and there were white dullards too. There are dullards out there. But if you think that race is a determinant of who is or is not a dullard, then you are a dullard. It is 11 minutes past 10 o'clock at santacruzvoice.com. I'm Charles Freedman. And the telephone line is open. 831-265-5050 is the telephone number, 265-5050. There are two economic headlines today in the paper. The first one, there's a jobs report out now. It was delayed slightly by the government shutdown, but it said it's a strong report. And I was thinking to myself, strong, okay, should be what? 250,000? Strong jobs report, 119,000 jobs. And I'm thinking, gee, that doesn't sound extraordinarily strong. But then here's a graph showing the last few months. The last time we had 119,000 jobs was 5 months ago. And 3 out of those 5 months, you had almost no growth at all. So 119,000 may not be a huge report, but it's the best one we had for a significant number of months. And it's also, these things are always based on, what were we expecting? Well, professional economists, the Wall Street Journal, etc., were forecasting a job gain of 50,000. 50,000. So instead it comes in at 120,000. Great. That's nice. That beats what was expected. And there's a little breakdown. Where are these jobs anyway? This is something that is somewhat concerning. A third of these jobs, no, actually about a half, 57,000, healthcare and social assistance. So more and more, maybe this is we're obviously in a situation where our country is aging. The birth rate is down. This is just a fact of existence. The proportion of our population who are old fogies is increasing. And therefore, there is an increasing demand for health care and, it says here, social assistance. I imagine a lot of them are helping old fogies. And as an old fogey myself, I feel that I can go ahead and use that terminology. It communicates. You all know who I'm talking about. What do we got? Let's see here. Food services and drinking places, in other words, restaurant workers and like that, up 36,000. Construction up 19,000. State government up 16,000. Retail trade 14,000. Local government 9,000. Then there's also some areas that have lost. The biggest loser of all, 25,000 jobs lost in transportation and warehousing. Warehousing. It seems to me that's one of those places where automation might be a factor taking over. Michael is on the line. He wants to talk about the big sting. Okay, that was, I guess, 1976, I think. The best movie that Robert Redford and Paul Newman ever made. I watched it again a few months ago, and it holds up extraordinarily well. Michael, thank you for reminding us about The Sting. Excellent picture.
It was an excellent picture. It was 1973.
73. Sorry about that.
Yes. Well, I'm honored to have caught Charlie in a missed date. Doesn't happen often, but what the hell. Yes, in 1973, The Sting. It's about the scammers getting scammed, right? And, so there's another story. At any rate, there's another story that just came out that a lot of people probably haven't picked up on because it hasn't been given much press, but it's probably the biggest sting on earth, I think. And it relates to in October, the U.S. Department of Justice accused a Chinese national who is now a Cambodian, and he's the owner of a company called the Prince Group. The U.S. Department of Justice accused him of pig butchering and thereby seized 127,000 bitcoins, now worth somewhere in the neighborhood of $15 billion. So what is pig butchering? And 127,000 bitcoins? So pig butchering is a practice by which you call somebody up, you establish a friendly relationship with them, and then seduce them into working with you and giving you their money. And once you start that process of getting the money from them, and you go and make the big score with them, so you talk them out of all of their money. And when you do that, that's called the pig butchering.
It strikes me that there's nothing new about this. The Kingfish was doing it to Andy years ago.
Exactly. It's forever, right?
Exactly, yeah, for 30 or 40 years.
Well, Chenzhou industrialized the process.
Aha!
By establishing prison call centers in Cambodia and neighboring countries down there. And he did it on a massive scale. He would tell young Chinese people and other nationalities that, hey, I have great jobs for you in this beautiful jungle tropical paradise. And I'll pay your way down here, and you can live in modern facilities and enjoy a great life. And so people flocked to the place.
In Cambodia?
Once they got to the facility, their passports were confiscated, and they were locked in these prison-like settings from which there was no escape.
Oh, my God.
And what they were forced to do was sit there on these cell phones and call people all over the world and seduce them out of their money, butcher them, take their money. Pig butchering, it was called. So,
and the organization in charge of all this, this sounds like a Spectre operation to me.
Well, in a sense it was, but Spectre would be Chenzhou and the Prince Group. And the Prince Group was tightly associated with the Chinese Communist Party.
So this is the evil prince that we've heard so much about.
Yes, I guess so. But at any rate, through the last decade or so, Chenzhou's had a lot of favorable press from the Chinese press.
Uh-huh.
They laud his services to humanity for his great public service work, and so he's very clever at establishing himself with the political people. So in the interim, other pig butchering operations were getting arrested, but never the Prince Group, because he had that special relationship with the CCP. So at any rate, the CCP, when the DOJ stepped in October and seized all this money, $15 billion worth, the CCP didn't say a word. And it wasn't until November 9th when the Hong Kong Zero newspaper put out an article that said, this looks less like a hack and more like an orchestrated operation conducted by a state-level organization. So the interesting thing was the Prince Group was hacked in 2020, right? And the money disappeared. Whoever hacked the account, the Bitcoin wallet, whoever unlocked it and took all those Bitcoins out, took them away and put them in their own wallet.
Uh-huh.
And they didn't spend a nickel of it. It just sat there for 4 years.
That requires quite a bit of discipline. No, normally, people who steal something actually do something with it. If you've got the discipline to commit a theft like that and then just sit on the proceeds, that in itself is oppressive. So they stole. So it was the evil prince who stole this money and then sat on it.
And, well, it was the evil hacker that stole it from the evil prince.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was confused. So the evil prince in this case was the victim, and the evil hacker stole the money. Well, the question now becomes, who was the evil hacker, and was it the Chinese Communist Party?
This is when it gets really interesting, Charles. This is when the Chinese Communist Party is starting to speak up about this hack and this theft. So the China National Computer Virus Emergency Response Center issued a report titled Technical Tracing and Analysis Report on the Massive Bitcoin Theft from the Rubin Mining Pool. And the report said that the 127,000 Bitcoins were worth $3.5 billion when they were stolen, but are now worth $15 billion.
Wow.
The report emphasized that this batch of Bitcoins was never used after the theft, and that a typical hacker would have spent the money. Like I would have. I don't know what I would buy for. I would spend some of it. And then it wasn't until June of 2024 that the Bitcoins were transferred to a new blockchain address. So the conclusion from the China National Computer Virus Emergency Response Center was that the entity that stole the Prince Group's Bitcoin stash was not just any ordinary hacker, it was the U.S. government. Whoa. The U.S. government stole $15 billion. Now, if that was the case, that would be enough money for Xi Jinping to buy 2 Fujian-class aircraft carriers. And it's gone. So it's a real interesting thing. Now, 3 points of interest here. One, the U.S. government's investigation that led to the indictment of Chen Zhe and the Prince Group did not begin until 2023, 3 years after the theft.
Mm-hmm.
And it was determined that it was the largest scam in the world, and the victims included a lot of people here in the United States who sent their money to these scammers.
Oh, you mean people working in this boiler room would call people here in the United States, some of whom were dumb enough to really send money to the Nigerian prince, and so we had a lot of ordinary folks in this country lose significant sums of money.
Lots of money, Charles. So now the problem, of course, is Xi Jinping's problem, because once the U.S. stood up and said, "Hey, we took this money from the Prince Group, which is running a scam operation, and so it's illegal money, and we're confiscating."
Right, we took this money from the evil prince.
Right, and that flashed all around the world. Everybody in the world knew what was going on now. So if the U.S. had kept quiet about the seizure, Xi Jinping could have quietly taken the hit. But the U.S. boasted about it to the entire world, leaving Chinese netizens to complain about the loss. $15 billion, that's our money. How did the U.S. manage to take it away?
But if he does that, then he confesses to everybody that he is in league with the evil prince.
Yes, so enormous pressure on Xi Jinping now, because the whole incident is making him look like a complete fool.
That I like.
How did the U.S. steal our money? So, and then, of course, this pulled up a lot of attention on the Prince Group. So the Chinese people started looking at the Prince Group closely and discovered this real close relationship between Chen Zhe and the CCP. Oh my goodness, because they were stealing Chinese people's money too. They were stealing everybody's money.
Equal opportunity.
So, yes. So as the Prince Group was suddenly indicted as the world's largest scam operation, supported by the CCP and blessed by Xi Jinping himself. So the the Chinese Communist Party press never touched the Prince Group. They only served up articles on the small fry scammers that the CCP would pick up. But they always held up the Prince Group as being the epitome of what good economic citizens could be. This is the organization to aspire to.
Aha!
So the money that should have been confiscated by the CCP and added to the Treasury was somehow taken by the U.S. Department of Justice.
So where's the money now in the United States? Is the money in the United States Treasury now?
Yeah.
Aha! So always follow the money.
So somehow, yes, always follow the money. So Xi Jinping is pretty upset about all of this, as you can imagine.
But what can he do?
What can he do? Not much. So the China National Computer Virus Emergency Response Center put out the notion that this U.S. seizure was not about arresting a crime. The U.S. seized the money in 2020, right?
Right.
Before anybody accused anybody of any crime. Then began investigating the Prince Group's crime in 2023. So we seized the money in 2020. Then we started looking at the criminals in 2023.
Isn't that a bit like putting the cart before the horse? Aren't you supposed to, nail down the criminal organization and then take their dough?
It gets pretty interesting, doesn't it?
It does.
So the implication is, Xi Jinping and his press are accusing the U.S. of acting with impure motives, right? And it's like the pot calling the kettle black.
Right.
What do you mean? You're the one that stole the money from us, right? So I guess the big question is, why was the CCP nurturing and protecting the world's largest scam operation? Because it had an interest in the money, of course. And so Ken Xi's posturing to the mockery of the Chinese people for the CCP's complete loss of faith. And what can Xi Jinping say about losing that stash of money without making himself look really foolish?
There's a moral to this story.
It's interesting.
The moral of the story is if you lie down with pigs, you come up smelling like garbage.
Yes. But at any rate, people can track this down, and there's a very interesting piece on it. It's called Xi's Silent Screams, and it's on the YouTube Digging into China.
Mm-hmm.
You just search for Xi's Silent Scream, you'll hear the story that's much broader context.
Is this one of Lay's or Tony's presentations, or is this somebody else?
Somebody else. His name is Don Xiang.
Okay.
Xiang. But these YouTubers are pretty interesting when it gets right down to it, because they're all expats, people who don't live in China anymore, live here, and are not so enamored by this.
Well, that may be because they prefer not to be imprisoned and tortured.
Exactly. And they have people still inside China that feed them information.
That takes guts.
Sometimes the stories are so wild as to be unbelievable. But this one is believable when it gets right down to it. It may not be correct. I don't know. But one never knows when it gets right down to it. Because the Chinese Communist Party only wants you to know what they want you to know.
See, that harkens back to the immortal words of the late great Fats Waller, who once said, "One never knows, do one." But you said something a few moments ago that I had going through my mind already. There's all kinds of stories on YouTube, and you just said some of these are obviously pie in the sky. What is it about this particular story that, in your judgment as an astute observer, makes it credible?
Well, the first step, number one, in October, the U.S. Department of Justice accused Chen Zhi's Prince Group of pig butchering and thereby seized 127,000 bitcoins worth $15 billion. Well, my first thought was, how did they get the money? How did they seize it? these Bitcoin purses are password protected. So how did they get the password? How did they get the key to the money?
Right. I understand.
So that one, that's the first thing that really caught my attention.
Well, wait, before you go on, I
I've
thought,
been-
correct me if I'm wrong, I thought the original seizure was done back in 2020. Now, you're telling me that this seizure occurred in October, which was last month. What am I missing?
Yes. The original seizure was not an official government action. It was a hack. Somebody hacked into Chenju's Prince Group's Bitcoin wallet and took the money. It just took it. Okay? It wasn't an official government seizure.
I see.
It was a taking. It was
Okay.
a theft.
Okay. But this October action was a government seizure.
Yes, and then there's the recent October incident. Yeah, the recent October announcement was an official seizure of the money. So my thought was, how the hell do they get the money? How do they? Because this Bitcoin business is supposed to be very confidential, right? You're not supposed to know where it goes.
I understand, and I'm going to make a suggestion. Doesn't it occur to you that, or it occurs to me, with my limited knowledge of such things, that the only way this was possible was by hacking?
Yes.
Which takes us back to 2020 again.
2020, exactly. Somebody figured out how to hack Chenju's Bitcoin wallet, and they stole it. Now, Chenju didn't say anything about it. I mean, nobody said anything about it. Who are you going to tell? Somebody just stole $3.5 billion of my Bitcoin.
Yeah, and they hacked my Bitcoin account. That's not the kind of thing you want to noise around.
No, and that's problematic for Bitcoin people when it gets right down to
Oh,
it,
you
right?
bet it is.
Because, right? So this happened 5 years ago. And then 2 years ago, the government started looking into it. And I've kind of been following the pig butchering industry, and I knew about Chenju and the Prince Group, and I'm kind of watching it out of the corner of my eye, because it's very much like the Nigerian email scam that went around, probably still going around. Shows that.
I haven't gotten one for a while, but, you know, they were so ubiquitous that you can talk about the Nigerian prince to anyone, and they'll immediately know what you're referring to.
Yes, different now. They use social media, and they're much more clever at getting your attention. You know what? I would love to get their call scripts. Don't you think that would be interesting? How they call you up and talk their way into your life and take a hold of you. I would love to get their call scripts. But it's different now. I just had one yesterday.
Really?
And it was somebody, yes, it was somebody that texted my phone number. And the texter said, "Hi, I have received your phone number in my something.
Yeah.
And I don't remember you. Who are you?" So that is how one way you open the door. So if I would have looked up that phone number, and I did, it doesn't lead anywhere. So it's just step number one. You have to get people to respond to you. And then away you go. You follow the script. And you just talk your way through these scripts until you get to the money.
That's a fascinating way of doing it.
Butchering the pig.
Essentially appealing to somebody's memory, saying, you know, I have your number, and who are you? Are you a blast from the past? In other words, you're kind of playing Ralph Edwards with the whole thing. And a lot of people are going to be curious.
Yes. Who are you? I don't know you. Yes. But then once you respond, you're on the script. And the script, I'm sure, has been fine-tuned over the years of Prince Group and these other scammers. I'm sure the scripts have been really refined. So once they get you to respond once, then you're on the script, right?
Yeah.
Then you're led through a process. But billions and billions of dollars were taken from people by seducing them into the thought that they can get what they want just by following your instructions. Whether it's love, whether it's fortunes and money, whatever. The scripts lead you right down the path that you want to take to get what you want.
Well, of course, this is the latest evolution of the age-old con game. Operating on the principle that a fool and his money are soon parted. But I wonder, almost certainly not, if the government has managed to seize this money and bring it back, is there any way that the original people who were defrauded might ever be able to make a claim and get reimbursed? I can't see how.
Well, the big problem with that is when Jen Shir lost all of his 127,000 bitcoins back in 2020. Did he run to the police or something? No.
Right, of course not.
Because that would have led to how he's making money. So those who have lost their money are probably very reluctant to say, I fell for it and I lost my money. And where did it go? The money went to Cambodia, where it was converted into bitcoins,
mm-hmm.
and the bitcoins were shipped all over the world through various shell corporations and laundered and then sent back to Cambodia, and then used to buy real estate and companies and stuff all over the world. Right? So when the U.S. started confiscating the Prince Group's money and properties, now other countries all over the world have located its properties in the UK and Hong Kong, Singapore, Thailand, Taiwan. All over the world, people have targeted Prince Group holdings and confiscated them. And think of how this must really piss off Xi Jinping, because he's not getting any of this. And I'm sure, this is just my speculation, I'm sure he was entitled to a cut of that money.
Oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. So yeah, this is a place where he's not going to get the chance to he's not going to get the chance to wet his beak.
Right. So it appears to me as though the U.S. pulled off the biggest scam in the history of the world, and the big victim, was Xi Jinping and the Chinese Communist Party.
Well, I hope that's true, and I certainly, if it is true, I wish that they'd been able to hook him for 10 times that amount. But I'll settle for $15 billion. It's car fare.
Yeah, 2 Fujian carriers. So maybe I've been scammed by this story, and maybe it doesn't have the slightest bit of truth to it. And as I stated at the outset, one never knows, because one is never given straight information from the parties involved.
Of course not. Not to their advantage.
But it appears to be that the U.S. Department of Justice made a public announcement of this indictment of Chen Zhe and the Prince Group, and said that we have confiscated 127,000 bitcoins. It sounds to me, and again, it was the confiscation that caught my attention. Well, how do you do that? How do you confiscate something in somebody else's Bitcoin wallet? Unless you already have done it. Because if you haven't done it yet, they're going to change the password or something like that, and you won't be able to get in. So it was a fait accompli. And what the Chinese Computer Center, Computer Virus Emergency Response Center, claimed in its report that the money was taken in 2020, and the U.S. did not start investigating until 2023. And so it would appear as though, if this story is true, that the U.S. had an eye on what the Prince Group was doing and decided that we can take the money because who's going to complain?
Yeah, if you're a crook and you have the proceeds of criminal activities, and somebody comes in and steals them, again, as you said, like you said earlier, who are you going to call? You're going to call the police? No, I don't think so, because this material wasn't yours to start with. You know, I have a suggestion for you. If you'd like to follow this story up, and this goes for everybody listening, if you'd like to hear more about this story, you probably can. Right here on Santa Cruz Voice, but you'd have to wait. Let me see. It's next Thursday between 3 and 5. There's a program called China Now, and there's a couple of guys who come on and they talk about issues referring to China. And if anybody's got the skinny on this, they will.
Well, good, Charles. They don't have to wait that long because I am in the process of posting yesterday's show, in which we laid the story on the table. So it takes up pretty much the second hour of China Now, and that will be posted within the hour. But it is an interesting story, don't you think? I mean, is it possible that the U.S. scammed Xi Jinping out of $15 billion? Woo-wee!
I'd love it. I would love it. Well, thank you for calling and making us all aware of this. This had escaped my radar, so I'm really grateful.
Well, I'm happy to put it on the table for you. Thank you for taking my call, Charles.
And you might take, before you absent yourself, one more reminder to everybody as to when and where to catch China Now.
China Now. Well, it's always there on the SantaCruzVoice.com archives. Just go to SantaCruzVoice.com, click on the archives, and the show is there, like as our Charlie show. So you can click on in yesterday's show, and it's 264, number 264. And in the second hour, you can hear this story, but there's lots of other stories on the show as well.
Outstanding. Thank you.
So thank you, Charles.
Have a great day. Well, isn't that a heck of a story? My goodness. So it's altogether possible that Uncle Whiskers managed to bamboozle the Chi-Coms out of, what was it, $15 billion? Hey, I'm in favor. I just wish they'd send me a small cut. That's all I want. Back in 2 minutes.
Hi, Warren. Hi, John. What's been going on? I'm a little upset right now. My roof leaks. Your roof leaks? I think water belongs on the ground, rivers or oceans, not in my living room. What do you think I should do? Well, that's a no-brainer, Joan. Call us here at Knox Roofing. And how do I call you? Knox Roofing at 461-0634, or just throw a rock. You're liable to hit one of our trucks on the road. You know, we were voted best roofer in the county again for another year. Thanks, folks, for quality roofing for all these years at prices and financing you can't beat. Ask us about military and senior bonuses, and of course, what's a Knox box? I guess I'll just have to call you guys. It sounds like Knox Roofing is well worth it. Okay, Joan, relax and have fun this summer. That's 461-0634 for Knox Roofing in Monterey and Santa Cruz County. Thanks, folks.
Satisfy your hunger with a fresh, prepared, twice-daily grab-and-go sushi you'll find waiting for you at Sushi Market Sprouts, 2 blocks from the beach at 300 7th Avenue in Santa Cruz. Fresh, delicious, and oh so good.
Hello, I'm Junko, and I look forward to serving you at the Sushi Market Sprouts.
Satisfy your hunger right now with the delicious ramen and sushi you'll find waiting for you at Kaito, easy in and out location in the Capitola Mall food court. Special orders welcome, fresh, delicious, and oh so good.
This is Koji. I'm looking forward to seeing you at my restaurant, Kaito.
Treehouse dispenses not only the finest cannabis products, but information to those who want to know how to use cannabis for maximum benefit. Hello, I'm Jenna. If you would like to know how best to use cannabis, ask your friends and neighbors at Treehouse Dispensary, 3651 SoCal Drive. If you're 21 plus with a valid ID, no appointment is necessary and the information is free. Order online at ourtreehouse.io and pick up at our drive-thru. See you soon.
Whoops. Okay, welcome back. Time now is 10:47. Just a little bit less than 15 minutes left in this particular hour. I'm going to check here. Oh, Malcolm has something to offer on what we just. The U.S. government did not crack Bitcoin's cryptography. This is how to seize Bitcoin. So, Michael, if you're still listening. My emailer Malcolm has something here. The U.S. government did not crack Bitcoin's cryptography. That has never happened and would be catastrophic for the entire system if it did. Instead, seizures rely on control of private keys or operational mistakes by criminals. Think of Bitcoin like a vault with an unbreakable lock. The government didn't break the lock. They found the key under the mat, forced the owner to hand it over, or took control of the building. In the Evil Prince group, likely what happened, investigators mapped scam transaction flows, identified wallets used for laundering, seized devices and server infrastructure, obtained wallet keys through access control, not cryptographic defeat, then returned the Bitcoin to U.S. government-controlled wallets. Now, I don't know if Malcolm has the right answer here or not, but he is pretty savvy on these things, and I certainly am happy to receive this email and to place it out there for the consideration of my listeners. So, Malcolm, thanks to you. And this makes sense to me. One of the things that Michael mentioned when we were talking is the idea of breaking the cryptography was scary, and you make that point here. And so you're looking for, and Malcolm is here offering us alternatives. Okay, so the cryptography wasn't broken, so what did happen? And here is a plausible answer to that question. Again, thank you. Very grateful for that, and it's valuable. If you have something, Malcolm is one of those listeners who is unable to call in. He just his job responsibilities, etc., keep him from doing that. But he does send us emails, and quite valuable ones, as this is evidence. If you would like to send an email to me, I don't always look at them during the program, but I try to. The email address is charles78rpm at yahoo.com. Charles78rpm at yahoo.com. So perfectly happy to receive your email communications. And that's an alternative to calling if you prefer not to or are unable to. Okay, my eye was caught by something this morning. President Trump evidently is upset with some members of Congress. And it says they should be arrested over a video. Now, that brought my eye. I'm thinking, what are you so excited about? And the paragraph, let me see. In a string of social media posts Thursday, Trump said the lawmakers' actions amounted to seditious behavior, called them traitors, said an example must be set. They should be arrested and tried. What? Should be he asked his 11 million followers on Truth Social whether they should be jailed, saying seditious behavior was punishable by death. He reposted comments from Truth Social users saying that these Democrats should be charged with sedition and hanged. Okay, by this time you've got my attention. Just what was said or done that has got people hyperventilating in this fashion? Well, the 6 Democrats, and these are 6 Democratic members of Congress, all of whom are military or intelligence community veterans, said in the video that members of the military should ignore orders from President Trump and senior military leaders if they think the orders violate the law. The 90-second video was posted online earlier this week, features Senators Alyssa Slotkin and Mark Kelly, and Congress members, representatives, Jason Crow of Colorado, Maggie Goodlander of New Hampshire, Chris DeLuzio of Pennsylvania, and Chrissy Houlihan of Pennsylvania. Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders, Mark Kelly said in the video. You must refuse illegal orders, DeLuzio said. Okay, I spent 6 years in the Navy myself. In the military, we have something called the UCMJ. What's that stand for? Universal Code of Military Justice. And one of the items in the Universal Code of Military Justice, as a member of the armed forces, and obviously that's what I was, so this meant me, I was obligated to obey all legal orders given to me by superiors, either commissioned or non-commissioned. So if somebody wearing gold came up to me and told me to do something, it was my obligation to do it. And if somebody, first class or a chief petty officer, Charles, I want you to do such and such, you do it. Now, the adjective legal appears there. You're obligated to follow all legal orders. What's an example of an illegal order? Shoot those civilians. That's an illegal order. This covers things like what happened at My Lai, if you're old enough to remember that. And frankly, the idea, this is simply one more manifestation of something that we talk about on this program all the time, Trump derangement syndrome. President Trump has given no illegal orders, to my knowledge, to the military. It was on President Trump's orders, for example, that nuclear facilities in Iran were taken out by American forces. Do these members hold that those were illegal orders? There was plenty of precedent for this type of an action. There was no sustained military involvement. The War Powers Act doesn't come into being because, that says, well, if it's going to last more than 60 days, hell, it didn't even last 60 hours. Over and done with. So what other orders are these 6 Democrats complaining about? And what they're doing here, and this is the problem really, they're telling American service members, when you get an order, you should immediately decide for yourself whether it's a legal or illegal order. And if it's an illegal order, you should refuse to obey it. Well, obviously, members of the military, particularly enlisted men, do not tend to hold law degrees. The question of what does or does not constitute an illegal order. Earlier, I gave an egregious example of an illegal order. That's the type of order that would not only you'd be thinking about its legality. You'd be thinking about its morality and common decency. And this issue generally doesn't come up because, contrary to the model put forward in Dr. Strangelove, we do not have people like Jack D. Ripper holding commissions in the American military. I was in for 6 years. There were some people working over me, some officers I didn't particularly care for. But none of them were crazy. None of them were Captain Queeg. And none of them gave questionable orders. And the idea that each enlisted man should now immediately be the judge. Oh, do I want to obey that order? Is that a legal order? So what's the story here? Well, obviously, Mr. Trump and his MAGA people on Truth Social are hyperventilating as usual. And this does not do them credit. I mean, the idea that they got death to these people, hang them. Good bloody God, shut up. That's nonsense. No, what you do is you answer this by saying, shame on these people. Shame on these people. They are allowing their, they're allowing their Trump derangement syndrome to prompt them to advise military personnel to take decisions, i.e. disobedience of orders, that could get them into serious trouble. That's a court-martial offense. So the real problem here is that if any military personnel were to act on this, say, well, I had 6 members of Congress telling me that I didn't have to obey illegal orders, and I'm not a Republican, and I'm not a Trump follower, and I think this order is illegal, and I'm not going to follow it. I'm sorry, I don't give a flying damn if you voted for Donald Trump, Kamala Harris, or Yehudi. If you're in the military, you are under military orders and discipline and the Uniform Code of Military Justice, and you are obligated to carry out orders. And if some hysterical Trump hater comes along and says, these are illegal orders, you can't follow them, remember, you're the one whose neck is going to be in the noose if you decide not to follow that order and you get arrested and prosecuted for it. Because the contract you agreed to when you raised your arm and took the oath was to obey the orders of officers appointed over you. And that is what, it says here that these 6 Democrat members of Congress are all military veterans. Obviously, they should know that. I'm done. How about that? Ooh, I just happened to look up and see 10:59, and I thought, oh my God, how close am I? Turned out real close indeed. Okay, so do I have any fun stuff or maybe another Babylon Bee post? I love those. See if I can find one quick like a bunny. Foolproof ways to avoid getting deported. Hey, I like that. Let's see here.
Helpful tips for migrants looking to avoid ICE. Tip number 1. Go back to your own country. Simply with assistance by listing the following helpful tips for migrants looking to avoid ICE. Tip number 1, go back to your own country. Simple, but effective. Tip number 2, obey immigration laws. Studies show the best way to avoid being charged with a crime is to not do anything to break the law. Tip 3, take off your sombrero. You'll be less identifiable and blend in with every other Juan, Ricardo, and Geraldo. Tip 4, resist the urge to lead an armed gang to forcibly take over an apartment complex. It may be difficult, but your willpower will pay off. Number 5, don't rape anyone. American society tends to view this behavior as no bueno. Number 6, learn English. Making a convincing case to the governing authorities is much easier when you can actually speak a language they understand. Number 7, try cutting back to less than 1 murder per week. ICE is targeting violent criminals first, so go easy on the murdering. Following these tips is a surefire way to evade capture and deportation. You'll escape the clutches of ICE and be back hanging out in the Home Depot parking lot in no time. Until next time, si se puede. And this video will provide...
Oh my God. Oh my God.
What is this? Are you a capitalist spy?
Ew, no. I'm Brinley. I'm a progressive from the future. My pronouns are she, her.
Pronouns?
Wait, you're not a transphobe, are you?
I don't think so. I don't even think that's a word yet.
Oh, good. I can't talk to you if you're a TERF. Anyway, I came here to see how great communism is. I'm from the year 2025.
2025. Ah. By then, our worldwide plan for communist rule will have come to fruition, no doubt.
Well, communism is making great progress in American colleges. Pretty much every college student is a raging communist. But unfortunately, most Americans still consider communism to be bad.
Yet.
I know, right? Actually, I came here for inspo. My history professor told me what an amazing utopia Soviet Russia was, and I had to see for myself. And to get some more great ideas for policies to implement back in America. I have so many questions.
Okay then, shoot. No. Not you. Her. Shoot. Your question.
They have the guy that they have doing Stalin is actually pretty good. Oh my God! Shoot with your questions. There must be more to this one. This is just a little teaser. And maybe one of these days I'll find the whole thing. Who knows? Yeah. The American Revolution, a film by Ken Burns. No, that's actually Ken Burns. That's not Babylon Bee. What the river to the sea really means. Woke Jesus. Oh my God. Lion, dog face, pony soldier. Yeah, I saw that one. That one's funny. That's not real socialism. College freshman explains socialism to a Cuban who escaped on a raft. I've seen that one. That's funny. Entire federal workforce replaced by one 16-year-old Chick-fil-A worker. Leave it to Babylon Bee. They could make it work. Okay. Yeah, if you want to see these, just go to your, YouTube and type in Babylon Bee, and up they'll come, and you can have a lot of fun. Okay, 8 seconds remaining. Let's do hour number 3. Heidi ho and Heidi he. Okay, once again, hour number 3 begins. It's 11:06. I'm Charles Freedman. Thank you for being with us on Santa Cruz Voice. This is the Charles Freedman Program. Reach us by telephone at 831-265-5050. We've had a couple of interesting callers today. Love you to be the next one. Okay, the last hour, it sounded like I ran overtime, but actually I caught it right at the cusp of the top of the hour. So you didn't miss nothing. You didn't miss nothing. At any rate, just shame on these Democratic members of Congress, veterans who are now urging their fellow servicemen to become their own lawyers. When you hear President Trump or give an illegal order, you don't follow it. No, they don't deserve to be hanged for this or prosecuted for sedition. But, well, this is something we come up against every day. If poor judgment were a crime, the prisons would be way more overcrowded than they are at present. Okay, we've talked a significant amount this week about the impact of the Epstein files. I came up with I believe, very reasonable, and frankly, I think it's true, theory of exactly why President Trump flipped from release them to don't release them back to release them. And we went into that thoroughly in yesterday's program. But now that decision has been made. Congress has acted, the president has signed the bill, so we are now past that. And Kimberly Strassel, whose Friday columns I normally share with you, has, as usual, her incredibly insightful observations. TMZ and the National Enquirer walk into a D.C. bar. They fall in love and have a baby, a scandal fest for the ages, which Congress delivers. That's what the Jeffrey Epstein files turned into this week, even if the full salacious reality of the coming spectacle has yet to set in. What started as Democrats' monomaniacal goal of tying Donald Trump to the deceased sex offender is set to become a bonfire of the political elite. It will be fueled by correspondence, hearsay, and accusations of the type that only law enforcement can compel and collect, and that are, as a result, usually kept private. Absent formal legal proceedings, it will give new meaning to gotcha, and it'll spare neither left nor right. As I read that first paragraph, I can't help but remember there was one congressman. Remember, the vote in the House was 427-1. And that one congressman was essentially raising these points, saying, there are going to be a lot of people that this is going to hurt. But by that time, it's rather obvious, the train had already pulled away from the station. This was going to happen, and nothing that Congressman Clay Higgins or Kimberly Strassel had to say was going to stop it. So where are we now? The hint that the stakes of this game were changing came this past weekend. Mr. Trump, after months of resisting the file's release, suddenly called for full disclosure. He openly broadcast his reason for the turnabout. Epstein was a Democrat, and he's the Democrats' problem, not the Republicans' problem. Ask Bill Clinton, Reid Hoffman, and Larry Summers about Epstein. They know all about him. Well, of course, that's what Mr. Trump put out for public consumption. But if you want to know what actually was behind all of this, you could go onto the archives at Santa Cruz Voice, bring up yesterday's program, and listen to the first hour, and you'll get the straight skinny. It was a clear warning. If Democrats intended to weaponize the files, Republicans would weaponize harder. This is what nuclear strategists call mutually assured destruction. This is meant to produce inaction. Congress, undeterred, rushed to vote for bipartisan immolation. This week brought a tiny taste of that transparency, gleaned from some 60,000 pages of documents released as part of the House Oversight Committee's Epstein investigation. A first missile, as per President Trump's prediction, landed squarely on Larry Summers, former Democratic cabinet secretary, who it turns out was soliciting Epstein's dating advice. The text contains nothing remotely illegal or related to Epstein's crimes, yet are cringeworthy enough to have forced Mr. Summers to take leave from teaching duties at Harvard. Missile 2, splattered on another Democrat, Stacey Plaskett. She is the delegate from the U.S. Virgin Islands to the House of Representatives. Text messages from 2019 show her corresponding with Epstein during a congressional hearing about how to question an upcoming anti-Trump witness. Now, if you are interested in more information on this, incidentally, you can go to Real Clear Politics today. And where is it? If you look in the center, towards the bottom, it says Stacey Plaskett's Nightmare Week continues. This is from Racket News. And essentially what we've got here is chapter and verse of exactly what Ms. Plaskett was corresponding with Epstein about, actually in real time, as Plaskett, in her capacity as a member of Congress, a non-voting member of Congress, and she's not from a state, but nevertheless, at hearings, she gets to ask questions just the same as anybody else. And it was Jeffrey Epstein orchestrating, live in person, in real time, her performance. I doubt if she's going to survive this. Epstein, during a congressional hearing about how to question witnesses, Republicans instituted a censure vote. Ms. Plaskett only narrowly avoided a formal reprimand and removal from the Intelligence Committee. This follows documents showing journalist Michael Wolff, Trump antagonist, would-be slayer of the powerful, moonlighted as a PR advisor to the sex convict. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer reiterated this week he's eager to demand former President Bill Clinton come from a deposition to explain, among other things, his flights on the Lolita Express. The Comer team is also digging into a documentary showing that in 2013, a fundraising and PR firm pushing New York Representative Hakeem Jeffries, now the House Democratic leader, invited Epstein to a campaign fundraising dinner. Democrats, so far unable to land one on Mr. Trump, have swiftly moved to exact other collateral damage. Oregon Senator Ron Wyden settled for a favorite Democratic punchball, corporations, releasing a memo claiming that Epstein files show J.P. Morgan Chase failed to report suspicious Epstein financial transactions to the Treasury. Senator Wyden is calling for a Justice Department investigation. Representative Jasmine Crockett, my God, is somebody going to put her out of her misery, spent a few minutes skimming Epstein document docs so she could rush to the floor and accuse former Representative Lee Zeldin, now EPA administrator, of receiving Epstein money, only to be informed that the donor was a Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, a physician who happened to have the same name as the more famous Epstein. In the aftermath of this, Ms. Crockett's comments, I just said it was a Jeffrey Epstein. I didn't say it was the same one. I mean, this should stick to her face. It really should. And this circus is nothing. This week's mudslinging comes courtesy of the initial House documents from the Epstein estate, or those the Justice Department didn't mind parting with. Former federal prosecutor Jim Trusty enumerated to me in recent podcasts the more sensitive material that may be to come. In other words, this is only the beginning, folks. Only the beginning. Recordings, videos, witness statements, in-depth notes from prosecutors debating unproven conspiracies, brainstorming unbought charges of obstruction or collusion, or false statements, search warrants and their results from homes, mail, social record, financial record, An investigator's job is to leave no stone unturned. No matter how distant from subject or crime, and Epstein dedicated his socialite life to amassing a heap of pebbles. The question won't be who among the rich and powerful are named in these files, but rather who isn't. Meanwhile, after 2 federal investigations, the reality is that 95% or more of the coming material will prove. Oh boy, well, we've got a. Is this? Oh, I see. We've got the same caller calling back. Maybe I missed it. Let's find out. Greg, it's Friday. Welcome.
Hey, Charles. Beautiful day.
It is.
It's chilly, but it's sunny, and I'm enjoying the sun right now. Well, you called it a circus, but I'd say it's more like a freak sideshow. What's going on in the Democratic Party? It's more than a circus. They're getting freaky on me. I mean, Jasmine, I don't know. I saw that, and her comeback, it was just a Jeffrey that she didn't say which one. No, that's a lie because you were using it against people like Lee Zeldin. Any Jeffrey Epstein wouldn't suffice. It was the Jeffrey Epstein that she was talking about. She's a liar. What I wanted to talk about was these Democratic Congress people, veterans, that make a video with a seditious tone to it. Vague, but seditious. And I think something needs to be done with that. It shouldn't just be glanced over. If you have a complaint as a congressperson, you bring it up in the oversight committee if you think something is not going as like it should. No, they make a video, and my favorite astronaut who puts ass in astronaut.
I'm ashamed of myself for not thinking of that one myself.
Well, it's true. I mean, some of the stuff that's come out of this very supposedly intelligent man just blows my mind. I mean, he's really, what a snow job. Anyway, too much radiation in space. My diagnosis there. Anyway, I don't know what should be done. Of course, I did not like the one comment that Donald Trump made, which brings more attention to him in a negative way. He could have really used it. Instead, he, is punishable by death. Okay, maybe back in the day it was. I don't know if it still is under law.
Well, I don't know if you heard the last hour or not, but as a veteran, I am familiar with the Uniform Code of Military Justice, and I mentioned that it calls upon members of the service, which I was, to obey all legal orders given by superior officers. So this is what these 6 are fastening on. They're saying, oh, you're being given illegal orders and you should refuse. If actually in the military, if you're given an illegal order, the smartest thing to do is carry it out and then, put in a complaint after the fact. Because otherwise, if you simply on your own volition, you decide that's not a legal order and I'm not going to follow it. At that point, you're up for a court-martial. You have to justify yourself. So essentially, the advice these so-called veterans gave to military personnel is, essentially paint a target on yourself. Put yourself in serious jeopardy. Now, if these are members of Congress, if they know of or have an idea of illegal orders being given to U.S. forces, it's their responsibility. They're members of Congress. They're the ones who are supposed to, as you said, go to the oversight committee, pitch a bitch, raise a stink. But the idea of now attempting to get enlisted personnel to decide, okay, well, I'm now Clarence Darrow, and I'm going to decide what's a legal or an illegal order. That's insane. That's foolishness. That's nuts. And that is what should have been said. This idea that they should be hanged is just ridiculous. And as you pointed out, Mr. Trump successfully took what could have been a positive moment for him and, making these idiots look like idiots. Instead, he hanged the idiot sign on himself. Well, he does that all the time.
Unfortunately, he does with his mouth. If his policies were as bad as his mouth, I wouldn't have nothing to do with him. But I like what he's doing. I like that he's blowing up these boats loaded with narco terrorists and drugs coming to our country, or even wherever they're going. They shouldn't be going anywhere. And I'm also all for strikes within Mexico on designated factories, holding facilities, cartel plazas, whatever they got there. I'm for it because they're destroying the country. I can get on my soapbox and just keep saying it, but it's really, really true. Really true how many families it's destroying. Yes, even past the people that it kills. So that's what I had to say on that. I hope they continue to do it. If there's a problem, bring it up in the oversight committee. Don't make some stupid video.
Yeah.
You agree?
Yeah, absolutely. If the other side is acting nutty, the way to show them up is to act sane, not by acting nuttier.
Agreed. It really could have been an opportunity for him, but he let his... See, I think he does that in a little fit of anger, the president. Sometimes he reacts. I read his truths. Most of the time they're very good, but every once in a while I cringe. This one I cringed. I didn't like it. It was, below the presidency, in my opinion.
But you weren't. But you weren't. You were upset, but you weren't surprised.
No, not surprised at all. Not surprised at all. He's said a lot of things that I don't like, but I still like him as a president. I still do because I like what he stands for. I think lack of sleep. The guy's manic half the time because he only goes 4 hours. I don't know how you can function and do what he does. Basically 4 hours of sleep. But,
well, he drinks enough Diet Cola to keep himself going.
Yeah, he's pickled himself in that stuff. I mean, if you have a button on your desk, get a Diet Coke. Has a lot of caffeine, a lot of salt too. So that's why he's bloated. Anyway, the other thing I want
Diet
to talk
Coke
about
has salt in it?
Oh yeah, they all have sodium.
I didn't know that.
Ton of sodium.
See, I haven't had a soft drink in years, nor would I ever. So I don't know about these things.
I like it mixed with various things. So I would say a rum and Coke with a bunch of lime is a really good drink for me. But
there you go.
Coke,
that sounds like a real good refreshment on a hot day.
Of course it is, Charles.
Depending of course on the portions of mix you use.
Yeah, that always, if you use a water glass as your jigger, you're fine.
There you go. Absolutely. Now, was there something else you wish to bring to our attention today?
Yeah, it has to do with affordability.
Okay.
And the real need, but my fear is that living in California, no matter what they do, there's so much opposition against affordability here. And because like I said, I have brothers in other states, and they said, yeah, gas has substantially gone down in my state, Florida and Alabama. So, but you don't see that really here, but not much.
No.
Everything else, like administration, as the supply go up, 56, stuff. I don't see energy's going down around the country. I don't see any of my supplies going down. In fact, I still see them ticking up. Now, I don't know if that's California price or what, but under the Biden administration, my PG&E bill. Now, I don't know if that's all to do with Biden. Some of it has to do with it, but or just living in California, doubled.
That's California.
And at the office.
I mean, if it's much like our gasoline prices. They're just in other states, people pay sane amounts of money for these things. You know, I'll recommend this to you. You may not have been listening when I did it earlier. I found a piece by Fareed Zakaria that actually was intelligent and sensitive, which shocked the hell out of me, because this is a guy that years ago I decided was an incompetent loon who was lying to my face. But and he works for CNN, so obviously he's agendized on that side. But within the last 2 or 3 days, he posted a televised presentation which aired on CNN. He says affordability problems are worst in blue states. Now, if you go to YouTube and type in some keywords, I'm sure you can get this. And I would urge you to listen to it, because it essentially is speaking to exactly the points that you were just making.
Well, I don't think I'll see those supply costs go down ever. I think once the manufacturer puts a fee and can get it, because they're getting it, because what am I going to do? Can't make some of the stuff myself. You're never going to see it go down from that point. It's not like eggs and beef and all that. Even though I saw one rancher interviewed, and he said, yeah, they want beef prices to go down, but the cost of running my tractors and the feed and the everything else, that hasn't gone down. So how am I supposed to bring the prices of it down if it's still costing me more to produce the beef?
Exactly.
Well, in my business, this is what's happening with dentistry and medicine. Things like IT. You have to have an IT guy now, and that costs anywhere from $500 to $700 a month, because some of the systems are way more complex than your regular Joe can do. I'm not trained as an IT guy or can grow up with it, so a lot of costs have gone up, and I don't see them going down. I mean, all the way across the board, they have gone up. But you know what hasn't gone up in my business? Insurance compensation. I'll give you an example. A Delta provider, you have to submit your fees, your professional fees, to get them approved if you're in network. And for 10 years, I tried to get Delta to raise my fees, because everything else around me has gone up in the last 10 years. Just like you could say the same thing in the grocery store, and everything that you need to buy has gone up. So how can you expect me to produce the same, in my case, dentistry, and accept the fees that they have to prescribe as being in network, and not raise my fees to go up with inflation, let alone the high cost of the inflation now with energy and supplies going up. I tried raising it $1 on each professional fee that I have, and I was denied. $1. So affordability, and of course, my insurance premiums for my employees that I have to pay, that is doubled too. That is literally doubled under the Biden administration.
So essentially, you're being treated by the state of California and by the establishment. You're being treated as a landlord. You're being treated as an exploiter, a malefactor, a greedy, Ebenezer Scrooge on steroids type person who deserves to be, pilloried and has to make sure that, we won't pay you, any more for your services today than we did 10 years ago, but you're confronted by all the higher costs. There's no fairness involved in that. Not even any common sense.
They are record profits. Record profits, the insurance company. Record. And the compensation to the CEOs is astronomical. But yet the providers, us little pawns, they were actually, Delta, because I know a lot about Delta, was actually going to take all the specialists that were in network and reduce. Here, we're not going to give you any more. We're actually going to take away part of your fee. Some 12%.
Oh, my God.
Reduction. So this brings me to the last thing I want to talk about, and that's healthcare.
Okay.
And Obamacare doesn't work. It was supposed to bring healthcare costs down. It has done everything but that. Made healthcare go up because we are subsidizing insurance companies. That's what the shutdown was all about too. And we're giving health benefits to non-citizens. People who haven't paid into the system one penny. So you can walk into any emergency room. People treat emergency rooms like their general physician. Just walk in there and clog up the system for whatever they want because they know they won't have to pay there. They don't have to pay, but you and I all absorb it. So something I really wish that the Trump administration would really work on something for health care. Entitlements as well, too. Everything. But the insurance companies, they need to be reined in a bit as far as the health business. Too much control, too much denial, too much game playing. I'll send in claims and everything is lost. I have a confirmation number that I sent it in. Oh, we can't use that. I go, well, why'd you give it to me? If you give me a confirmation number, it's just the games. And, if you talk to people that have been in the business, insurance companies send their employees to courses on how to deny, delay claims. Deny, delay. So it's very frustrating. It's gotten even more frustrating in the last 5 years. I just wanted to say I hope that something is done about health care because it needs to be done.
Well, I certainly agree with that, and it's important. This is a political.
But I don't know. I think about it. It's a very complex thing. It's really complex. to get something that is affordable for everybody and that gets good quality care and all that. I mean, I don't know what the solution is, but I know something that smarter heads than mine need to be put together to find a solution to this problem. Because we all need health care. I mean, the alternative a lot of times is to die young or in a lot of pain. We all need health care at one time. And I believe in preventative care and all that. So something needs to be addressed on it because the cost of it is getting completely out of hand. I mean, completely.
Well, thank you
so
for
that's what I have to say for this.
Thank you for calling. I've gotten kind of used to you chiming in on Fridays. It's good. And enjoy your sunny Friday and your weekend, and we'll be talking again.
I would love to hear from others who, on what I spoke about, especially the insurance business and healthcare. I would love to see if anybody has any potential solutions to the problem or ideas about it. I'd love to hear that.
831-265-5050 if you have some bright ideas to share with Dr. Greg. Thank you, sir.
Have a good one, Charles.
You too. You too. Okay, it is time for us to do our ads for this hour, so let's get that done, and we'll be right back. It is now 11:38.
Bring happiness into your holiday with a fresh and fragrant Lions Club Christmas tree. When you light up the tree, your family's smile will last into January. Pick up your tree from the Lions Club lot at the Portuguese Hall near Costco. 2 to 7 weekdays, 10 to 7 weekends. While they last. Bring happiness into your holiday with a fresh and fragrant Lions Club Christmas tree. All proceeds go to helping those in need in Santa Cruz.
Opens day after Thanksgiving.
The wife says the boat's got to go, no problem. Stored at Anbar Self-Storage in U-Haul, easy off Highway 1 by the airport. 24-hour security for cars, boats, and RVs. Stored away at Anbar Self-Storage in U-Haul in Freedom.
You made the products, now you have to deliver. Anbar Self-Storage and U-Haul has the moving vans, shipping boxes, and packing materials you need to deliver them. Easy off Highway 1 on Airport Boulevard by the airport. Anbar Self-Storage and U-Haul in Freedom.
Get hooked up with affordable cannabis at your neighborhood Hook Outlet dispensary. We have locations in Santa Cruz, Capitola, and Watsonville. At each Hook Outlet, you will find unmatched low prices on the Hook's unparalleled selection of top-quality medical and recreational cannabis flower, vapes, drinks, gummies, and concentrates. The Hook Outlets are Santa Cruz County's best source for the finest cannabis at the lowest prices. See for yourself. Stop by any Hook Outlet and say hi. We'll see you there. HookOutlet.com.
Attention content producers. You can have access to a complete digital media production facility at Satellite Co-working and Digital Media Studio on Soquel Avenue. Easily rent video and audio equipment, a studio with green screen, editing suite, and audio booth, all at can't say no rates. Schedule a tour to see for yourself at satellitecoworking.com. Mention Santa Cruz Voice for 20% off your first reservation.
11:40 at this point. Just 20 minutes remain in today's broadcast, so if you wish to call in and offer some gems, now is the time to do it. 831-265-5050 is the telephone number. I had been running down just exactly what the consequences might be of the Epstein release. And I had just about concluded sharing Ms. Straussel's thoughts. A single member, Representative Clay Higgins of Louisiana, had the foresight to imagine the wreckage and threat of this new precedent. He observed the release upended 250 years of criminal justice procedure and will absolutely result in innocent people being hurt. He was outvoted 427-1 in the House and unanimously in the Senate. Let the games begin. Yeah, that's a cheery note. Speaking of cheery notes, here's a quickie from Andrew Rice writing for the New York Magazine. This is something that this is a topic that we often discuss on the program. Last winter, the federal government released results of its semi-annual reading and mathematics tests of 4th and 8th grade students. These are considered the most authoritative measure of the state of learning in American elementary and middle schools. In nearly every category, the scores had plunged to levels unseen for decades or ever. On reading tests, 40% of 4th graders and 1/3 of 8th graders performed below basic, the lowest threshold. A separate assessment of 12th graders, high school seniors, conducted this past spring, the first since schools were shuttered by COVID, yielded similarly crushing results. Many graduated from high school without the ability to decipher this sentence. How can I assume that? The test asks them to define the word decipher. 24% got it wrong. You can't believe how low below basic is, says Carol Jago, a former public school teacher who has served on the board that oversees the National Assessment of Educational Progress, NAEP, NAEP. The thing these kids aren't able to do is frightening. Put that together with the disinformation they're given in their history classes, and you have got a recipe for structural failure of our republic. A group of ignorant people. Remember, our Constitution is not adequate for that. I believe it was John Adams who said so. He was speaking of people being of sufficient moral fiber. But the same is true of basic education, even in colonial times when formal education was a rarity. People learned to read. And people undertook to inform themselves. Today, in an era of universal free public education, for our students to be in such abominable condition is nothing short of criminal. Okay, I have the latest Santa Cruz County Republican Party newsletter here, and there are some things coming up. First of all, circle the date on your calendar next December 17th. This is going to be a Wednesday. Kind of an unusual day to do it, but it's going to be a Wednesday from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Back Nine Bar and Grill at Pasatiempo will be the annual Republican Party Christmas Club. Or Christmas party, rather, I should say. So this is going to be happy hour from 5 till 6. They are not charging for this, according to what I see here. It's just a matter of you want to come, you buy something to eat, you buy something to drink, that's on you. But they are not asking you for any money. It's just get together with your fellow Republicans and enjoy some Christmas cheer. Wednesday, December 17th, between 5 and 7 at the Back Nine Bar and Grill, Highway 17 at Pasatiempo exit. I will continue to announce this between now and then. What else do we have new? There's a signature drive going on to get the 1 million signatures we need to qualify and pass the California Voter ID Initiative. And this is, let me see here. Reform California is sponsoring this. That's Carl DeMayo's outfit. I'm looking to see if there's anything I can tell you. I guess go online to CA Voter ID and look there and see how you can either sign or circulate. Now, here's something that I hadn't considered earlier. Evidently, Gabriel Medina, who is a member of the Pajaro Valley Unified School District Board, I have had reports on this program of some of the really appalling and ridiculous things he has said and done on the board. There is now a movement. He's being called upon to resign, which he's not going to do, or be recalled. So it looks like there may be a movement to recall Gabriel Medina. why would you do this? Well, here are a few of the things he's done. He's made anti-Semitic remarks to Jewish community members at a board meeting. He has posted conspiracy theories on official district social media. He has yelled profanities in closed session, including a fellow trustee to shut the F up. He mocked Vice President Misty Navarro with "Come at me, Barbie," during the May 7th debate on censure. He demanded $35,000 from the board to drop a baseless lawsuit. He harassed Chief Business Officer Jenny Im into resigning, with her stating she'd never been treated as he treated her. He also blocked a student teacher because she had ties with a Christian college. This is not leadership. This is sabotage, now amplified by his explosive attitude and abusive language toward colleagues trying to save jobs and programs. PVUSD is grappling with declining enrollment, safety concerns, and a $1.25 billion maintenance backlog. Medina's actions waste time, talent, and tax dollars. Lawyers attend every meeting. Staff morale is shattered. Parents and teachers are fed up. California law allows a recall with signatures from just 10% votes of the votes cast in his election. I don't know how many votes were cast in the last election for trustee, and that's Area 3. Now, I do not know what Area 3 is. It's not mine. Gabriel Medina was not on my ballot, so I'm not in this particular area of the Pajaro Valley Unified School District. If you say to the voters, say, start the petition. Forms are online. The threshold is low. So let's see where we go. If I go to my search engine, and I'm going to type in recall Gabriel Medina, Medina. Gabriel Medina shares important update. I'm sorry. There doesn't seem to be anything here. No, there's nothing here for. We'll keep an eye out. Maybe this will show up sooner or later. But right now, if you search the net, you don't find anything for recall Gabriel Medina. Forms are online, it says. I'll have to get in touch with Mike LaLure and find out just exactly where to go to get this. Hopefully we'll have it by Monday. Okay. What else thanks to the Santa Cruz County Republican Party, Mike LaLure, the chair there, for sending me this update. If you are interested in seeing this yourself, I'm sure you could get it easily enough by going to SantaCruzRepublicans.com. SantaCruzRepublicans.com. That website definitely is up. Maybe that's where the, let's find out if that's where the recall petitions are. Just quick like a bunny, let's take a look. SantaCruz UBLICANS. Santa Cruz Republicans. Santa Cruz County, CA, That's Santa Cruz Republican Women. Santa Cruz Republicans. Facebook. Where in the hell is the website for CAGOP? Maybe this is it. No, that's the Santa Cruz County election. Oh, come on. Santa Cruz County Republican Party. Well, I'm a little tired of this. Santa Cruz Republicans.com. Okay. Well, doesn't come up. Well, I'll have to let Mike know about that. Their website's down. Or at least that's the way it looks to me. Ain't it the truth? Ain't it the truth? Okay, well, let's devote our final 8 minutes to something else, shall we? I still get a kick out of that. I had this in the first, probably nobody listening right now who was here then. There's some Democrat running for Congress in a special election in Tennessee in a district that includes Nashville. And she, on a podcast, she says, I hate country music. I hate Nashville. I hate, and she wants to represent the district in Congress, but here she is all over the place saying how much she loathes and despises the area and the people in it and everything else. And she'll get votes. She bills herself as the AOC of Tennessee. Oh, boy. Let's see, the last thing we should do today, something big. This new Ukraine peace plan, which, frankly, Trump urges Ukraine to accept peace plan by Thanksgiving. Zelensky warns that Kiev risks losing U.S. support. I find it difficult to even conceive of this, because over the past months, it is Putin of Russia who has proven again and again and again that he is, not only was he the aggressor, but he's the one who wants to continue this war. Now, President Trump says he wants Ukraine to accept a new peace deal by Thanksgiving. Zelensky warned the deal was forcing his country to choose between its dignity and a key partner. White House wants Kiev to sign off on the framework to end the war. This 28-point peace plan is a piece of you-know-what. Trump said in an interview on Brian Kilmeade's show that the deadline is appropriate. Also suggested Ukraine would lose in a short period of time. They're losing land. The U.S. communicated the Thursday deadline to the Ukrainian government. This is one of the most difficult moments in our history, Zelensky said in a somber 10-minute video address to his people. Currently, the pressure is one of the hardest. Ukraine may now face a difficult choice, either losing its dignity or losing a key partner. Either the difficult 28 points or a very difficult winter. He urged the nation to stay united during what would be a difficult, eventful week. President Putin struck a more upbeat note. Yeah, I would think so. The plan could form the basis of a final peace settlement, which, of course, would simply be a pause in Putin's determination, and it would enable Mr. Putin to thereby consolidate his position and get ready to simply take the rest of the country. This is a repetition of what happened in Czechoslovakia in 1938. And really, if this is as it's represented, I have trouble. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but the idea that the United States of America would force this solution on the Ukrainians it's exactly what Neville Chamberlain forced on Czechoslovakia at Munich. History now looks back upon that as one of the worst deals in history. It has become a descriptive term. It's a Munich, and everybody knows, okay, yeah, this is fruitless appeasement. You're going to give the guy what he wants, and you're going to make a bargain with him, and then he's going to break the bargain and come back and take everything else, which is exactly what happened with Czechoslovakia. Hitler agreed to take the Sudetenland, leave the rest of Czechoslovakia alone, Peace in our time, peace on you. And within a few months, Hitler invaded, conquered, and occupied the remainder of Czechoslovakia, which is exactly what Vladimir Putin wants to do with Ukraine. Exactly. Given the history of the past several months, in which Putin has repeatedly insulted President Trump, strung him along, treated him like a sucker. Mr. Trump has described it. He says, I have these great telephone conversations with Putin. And he says all the things I want to hear, and the next thing I know, he's blowing up another apartment block or hospital or something like that. And those of us who have been paying attention understand that this has happened again and again and again, not just once. It's been a pattern. And Donald Trump knows it. And now, if this is all true, evidently he's willing to simply accept that, to eat it, to osculate Vladimir Putin's posterior in Macy's window at noon. We agreed to work together with the U.S. and Europe at the level of national security advisor to make peace truly doable. Zelensky said Ukraine is respecting and continues to respect the U.S. President Donald Trump's desire to put an end to the bloodshed. So he's learned that, with Trump, you don't register any objections. Oh, no. But unfortunately, that's exactly what he's going to have to do, because the idea that this would essentially award Putin territory that he hasn't been able to seize on the battlefield, thus negating the heroic efforts of Ukrainian forces over a bloody 4-year period. But wait, there's more. According to what I saw of this, there would be no peacekeeping force established in Ukraine. This is one of the things that the Ukrainians had said. Okay, we want an international force here on the border, kind of as a tripwire, kind of the same way that U.S. forces are established and have been for 70 years in Korea. Why are they there? Are there enough of them to stop the Koreans? No, but there's enough of them to keep the war from rekindling. And that's all that we really want, isn't it? Vladimir Putin won't accept that, and so Trump's taken it off the table. Appalling. If this really is Mr. Trump's position, if this is really what he's going to try to get the Ukrainians to agree to, I will die of shock. I really will. In view of what's gone on over the past months, Mr. Trump will simply be groveling before Putin. And I didn't elect him to grovel. Okay, hopefully we'll know more about this when we get back together again on Monday at 9:06 in the morning. I'm Charles Freedman. Have a pleasant weekend. I certainly intend to. Thank you very much for listening. Thanks particularly to the people who phoned in today. Always appreciate it. Time's 12 noon. Stay tuned to SantaCruzVoice.com. Two, 4, 2.